Why do other children get to go home?
They're not called.
But they look happy.
Happiness isn't the goal.
Then what is?
Only God knows.
The prophet pointed at her mother's stomach and said the child inside no longer belonged to anyone alive. The church fell silent. The drums stopped. Only the wind through the open windows whispered. Heat pressed down on the wooden benches, and the people crowded closer, staring. Elder Kofi's eyes did not move. He raised his hand, calm but commanding. This child, he said, is set apart, God's vessel. She belongs to him, not to you, not to anyone here. Oil was poured slowly onto her mother's belly. It smelled sweet and thick. The mother's knees hit the floor. She wanted to step back, to run, to hide, but she stayed. Kneeling was easier than fear. Pride and terror mixed in her tears. The congregation began clapping and repeating words: belong, chosen, assigned. Voices rose together, echoing in the hot room. Some cried, some shouted, some smiled. All eyes were on the mother, on the child, not the life inside her, but the promise, the prophecy, the church. The mother's hands shook. A small voice inside her whispered, "Silence is also obedience." She blinked hard, swallowing a gasp. The words made her pause, made her still. The prophet spoke again, slowly, almost like a warning. This child is God's assignment. Her life is not yours. No one asked her what she wanted. No one thought of the tiny life growing inside, only of the calling, the prophecy, the church. And so the child was never named. She was called the vessel, the assignment, the chosen. Her first breath would be taken not for herself, but for everyone else. From that night, she was already trapped before her first breath.
She grew up in rooms that smelled of polished wood and prayer. The doors were always closed, though never locked. The walls were tall, the windows narrow, and the sunlight felt borrowed. She wanted to run, to laugh, to play, but there was no one to play with, no friends, only the eyes of adults who waited for perfection. She flinched whenever someone called her name, even though she had none. Sometimes she hid under the bed, tucking scraps of food she had stolen from the kitchen. At night, she ate quietly, swallowing fear and crumbs together. Hunger clung to her stomach, guilt wrapped around her chest. One small bite could feel like sin. She tried to sleep, but the elders demanded prayers. Kneeling in silence, she counted the seconds, felt her knees burn, and willed herself to disappear inside the stillness. Laughter came only in whispers, and even then she caught herself and swallowed it down. Someone was always watching, someone was always judging. Her parents praised her quiet obedience. "See how perfect she is," her mother whispered to the elders. Titles replaced her name: the chosen, the assignment, the vessel. She felt like a shadow that moved at the will of everyone else, a thing, not a person. Sometimes she noticed small things, the children outside running and shouting, playing in sunlight, and a tiny spark of hope flickered inside her, a thought that maybe life could be different. But the spark never grew. Words died in her throat. She learned early that wanting things felt like sin. She knelt on the hard floor until her knees burned, her back ached, and her hands trembled. The church was quiet, but the silence was heavy, like it could crush her. Elder Kofi stood at the front, calm and still, watching. He spoke softly, almost like he was afraid of the words. Refinement comes through obedience, he said, through discipline. His eyes never left her. She felt the weight of every word. She hated him for a single moment. A tiny, bright spark of anger rose inside her chest. Then she panicked. The thought of disobedience made her stomach twist. She swallowed it, hiding it deep, whispering apologies to God for even thinking it. She had learned to cry quietly, the kind of tears that no one noticed. Every day was like this, kneeling, waiting, listening, praying when she wanted to sleep, hiding when she wanted to run. Hunger clung to her stomach. Laughter dared not escape. Her mind whispered things she could not say aloud. The prophet believed he was protecting God. He feared being wrong more than harming her. That was what made him dangerous. The quietness of the church, the slow beat of the drums, the stillness of the congregation, it all came from him thinking he was righteous. She remembered something he had said once, almost like a warning. God does not shout. She repeated it in her head. Silence had power. She understood that now. Her knees hurt, her stomach growled, her heart was full of fear, and still she knelt, invisible, perfect in the eyes of everyone. Her silence became the loudest thing in the church. Her parents sat at the front of the church, hands folded, heads bowed. Everyone saw pride on their faces, the kind of pride that glowed like a fire in the dark. But behind it, there was unease, quiet and sharp. Her mother prayed every night after the lights went out, whispering for less attention, for the child to be normal, for a life that could belong just to her. She never spoke these words aloud. No one would have understood. Her father liked the respect her presence brought. People whispered about his daughter, the chosen one, the vessel. He smiled, bowed, nodded. Sometimes he caught her staring at him and felt a flicker of doubt. But it vanished when he remembered how much the church expected him to shine. One afternoon, she tried to speak. She wanted to say, "I am tired. I want a moment for myself." Her small voice trembled. Her mother's hand brushed hers, gentle but firm. "Not now," she said softly. "You must wait. It is God's way." The words weren't cruel, but they stopped her. She wanted to be understood. She wanted them to see her, not the assignment, not the prophecy. She wanted love to be enough. But love, as she learned, had limits. Silence was safer. Words could hurt. Asking too much could make their pride turn sharp. So she stopped explaining herself. She stopped trying. She folded into herself like the small hidden shape she had learned to be. Love did not save her. Belief replaced it. She had almost forgotten what it felt like to be treated like a person. Then Sister Ruth appeared. Ruth was different. She smiled when she spoke. She listened.
She asked questions she didn't expect answers to. She laughed quietly at small things, teaching the child to notice sunlight on the floor or the way shadows danced. Sometimes life gives a rest season, Ruth said one afternoon, kneeling beside her. A moment to breathe, to be normal. The words were soft, almost like a song. They made something inside the child stir, a feeling she had long buried. Ruth's kindness had cracks. She hesitated when elders passed by, whispered prayers to herself, as if she was asking forgiveness for helping. She wanted to do good, but she needed approval too. Sometimes she rationalized her actions as obedience. The child listened. Her stomach lifted with something like hope. She imagined sneaking away with Ruth, walking past the locked doors, leaving the whispers, the rules, the kneeling. She imagined feeling the wind on her face, hearing laughter without fear, tasting freedom for the first time. A small smile broke on Ruth's face. "Soon," she said, "soon you'll see." But the smile wavered. The child felt it, the edge of caution, the weight of unspoken limits. Even so, hope entered softly, like a lie that sounded kind. It made her heart beat faster. It made her think of leaving. Just for a moment, she believed she might belong to herself, not the prophecy, not the church, not anyone. And that small spark, buried under years of silence, refused to die. She had packed her bag the night before. A small cloth, bread, and a tiny jar of water. Everything she needed to disappear. "Are you ready?" Sister Ruth whispered. Her eyes shone with a quiet promise. The child nodded. "Yes, I am ready." The door creaked open, just a little, as if inviting her out. Light spilled in from outside. The wind smelled of freedom. Her heart beat fast. She imagined the street, the sun, the laughter she had only ever seen in shadows. Then the elders appeared. Their eyes were sharp, cold. They had waited. Ruth froze, her hand brushing the child's, avoiding eye contact. "It's a test," Ruth whispered, too softly for comfort. "A test of faith." The words hit harder than any scream. She felt anger rise, bright and hot, but her mouth stayed closed. She swallowed the words. The betrayal, the hope that had been whispered to her in secret. The child's body obeyed, even as her mind screamed. She stepped back, followed the elders' instructions, listened to Ruth's soft, guilty apologies whispered to the floor. She complied. Every movement was precise, perfect, controlled. Inside, rage grew like a fire in her chest, quiet but relentless. Her hope, that fragile, trembling spark, died without making a sound. She folded it up and hid it in a corner of her mind where no one could touch it. The church had won the day. The doors were still closed. The shadows waited. And she learned something new. Trust could hurt more than silence ever would. The punishments had no shouting. No one screamed. No one ran. They were calm, organized, like a clock ticking in a dark room. Every step, every word, every gesture had a place.
Every day was the same, and yet it ate at her like slow fire. She knelt through long prayers, back stiff, eyes lowered. Every now and then, someone would pass and look at her. She flinched, hiding thoughts that whispered escape or run. Even thinking the words could feel like betrayal. Elder Kofi watched from the pulpit, calm, quiet, commanding. But at night, alone in his study, the man doubted. He wondered if he had pushed too far, if he had made mistakes. He feared being wrong more than anything. Yet, every morning he returned to the church, returning to the machine he had built. He kept it running. The hierarchy hummed quietly. Elders instructed children. Parents praised silence. The congregation repeated the words of the prophet without thinking, without question. Everyone obeyed, not because they wanted to, but because it was expected, because fear clung like a shadow to the walls. The child understood this. Faith did not break her. She did not kneel for fear of God alone. She knelt because she had no choice. She obeyed because survival demanded it. But inside, something was growing. Quiet, small, but bright. A spark of thought, a flicker of self. The system was strong, its walls were tall, its chains were clever. Faith did not break her. Fear kept the machine running. The announcement came on a Sunday. The preacher's voice was calm, the words soft. "Her season is ending," he said. The church stirred. People whispered. The child felt something strange in her chest, a lightness she hadn't felt in years. The rules were softer. Punishments were fewer. She dared to hope. Maybe this time she could finally breathe. She smiled during prayers, head bowed, pretending she believed. Inside, her heart raced. Inside, she imagined a door left open just for her, a street waiting, a life that belonged to her alone. But the tension returned. The mother watched her from the front pew, smiling proudly. The father nodded, respect on his face. Yet she could see it, unease behind their eyes, small doubts hidden under the polish of pride. And the preacher, calm as ever, still expected obedience. Every ritual, every nod, every whispered amen reminded her she was still watched, still owned. Then it collapsed. A simple mistake, a glance, a forgotten rule. The softness disappeared. The season ended, not with freedom, but with a quiet tightening. She realized nothing had changed. The doors were still walls, the walls still cages. Her small spark of hope turned to fire, hot and bright. Rage and determination mixed with fear. The internal rebellion grew. Rest was just another room she could not leave. The church was full, every seat taken, every face staring at her. The ritual was ready. The congregation whispered, "The child, the vessel, the chosen." Her knees ached, her back burned. She had always knelt, always obeyed, always been perfect. But today, something inside her stirred, a quiet, heavy thing that had been growing for years. Elder Kofi stepped forward. "It is time," he said. His eyes locked on her. The ritual needed her. The machine depended on her. She could kneel. She could obey.
She could be the perfect vessel again. But she didn't. Her chest rose. Her face stayed canted. Her hands rested at her sides. The years of hunger, hiding, silence, and betrayal pressed into her mind, one on top of another. She saw the congregation waiting for a child, not a person. And in that moment, her internal authority outweighed their control. She stood, refused. Silence spread. The ritual wavered, candles flickered, elders froze. Mouths opened, closed, panic rippled through the church. No one moved. The machine they had built could not function without her. She stepped forward slowly. Each step felt light, even though the weight of everything she had suffered pressed against her chest. No one chased her. No rule covered this. Silence stretched, vast and electric. Years of obedience, fear, and hope collapsed in a single moment. They could punish words. They had no rule for nothing. She walked forward. The congregation froze, eyes wide, mouths opening, closing, voices swallowed by silence. The ritual waited. The elders waited. The prophet waited. She paused at the doors. They were old wood, heavy, symbolic, but open. Light spilled in. The smell of wind, of street, of freedom hit her. Step by step, she moved forward. Her chest rose, her heart pounded. Every step was a little rebellion, a little life reclaimed. Behind her, the church trembled, though no walls fell. Inside, Elder Kofi's hands shook. The prophet's calm face cracked. The machine they had built, the rituals, the expectations, they had nothing to hold her. Step by step. The doors widened. She left shadows, whispers, and chains behind. Outside, the wind carried nothing but herself. Time passed. Ordinary life came slowly. Coffee cups clinked. Sunlight fell on streets she could now choose to walk. A barista smiled. "Name?" he asked. She hesitated. It had been years. Words felt dangerous. But she took a breath. "Amara," she said. The barista nodded. She smiled. The name sounded soft, human, hers. Coffee warmed her hands. She laughed at a joke she had never heard before. She listened to people, walked freely, breathed freely. Nothing extraordinary happened, nothing magical, nothing was expected of her. Life itself, simple and ordinary, was her triumph. She had been a vessel, a chosen one, an assignment. They had never released her. They just forgot she could walk.